Alright, so welcome back everybody. So for this video, I'm going to show you guys how to play the Grimm Forest. Now this is a library copy, so that's why I don't have an unboxing for this game, because I didn't buy it. I just checked it out from the library. Now in the Grimm Forest, there's a king of the pigs, basically, who is now looking for people to help him build a bunch of houses in the Grimm Forest. He wants to get rich quick, and he thinks he will if he builds a bunch of houses in the Grimm Forest. However, unfortunately, the three little pigs are now old and senile and can build nothing but houses made of pumpkin. And so now it's up to us, the nephews and the nieces of the three little pigs, to appease the king, basically. And if we can build the best of the houses that we can possibly build, with the best materials, and be the player that can do it the fastest, we'll win the game. Okay? That's kind of the theme of the game. Now, in order to win the game, like I said, you have to be the first player to build 3 houses. Okay? So you'd have to build the foundation, the walls, and the roofs of 3 houses. Now, the houses can be made out of straw. They can be made out of wood as well. Okay? They can also be made out of brick. Okay? So, if this was my equation here, I'd win the game, because I have 3 houses and the other player doesn't have 3 completed houses. So you have to be the first player to complete 3 houses first. Now, in order to build those houses, you need to gather resources, and you need to be able to build them one segment at a time. Okay? So that's basically the object of the game. So let's talk about the flow of the game and the actions that you can take. There's 3 phases in this game. The first phase is the gathering phase. Then there's the build phase. Then there's the cleanup phase. During the gathering phase, that's when we will be gathering most of our resources, okay? During the building phase, that's when we will be building our houses with the resources that we gather. And we can do a bunch of different things in the building phase too. So, let's talk about the gathering phase. The first thing you're going to do is each player gets these gathering cards. Now, I've got the game set up for a 3-player game, so I'm only explaining the 3-player game. It's different for I've got it set up for a 2-player game, sorry. But the 2-player game is a little different from the 3-player game, and it's a little different from the 4-player game. And even the 3-player game and the 4-player game are different too. So, I'm only teaching it if you're playing a 2-player game. But, the rules just a little bit, there's only a few changes versus the amount of players who play the game. So when you play a 2-player game, you're going to be playing with 2 players, but you're also going to be playing against Prince Regal. And Prince Regal is this dice here, and he's going to roll this dice, or you're just going to roll the dice, and he's going to take resources away that we can potentially take, okay? Now, of course, we don't know what resources he's going to take either. Now, we're going to pick our pigs here to gather our pig here. This is our pig. So if you're a green player, this is your pig that you're sending out. If you're the blue player, this is your pig that you're sending out. Okay, you're going to pick one of these cards and gather a certain type of resource: brick, straw, or wood. And you secretly are going to choose these. The other players don't know which way you're going. Because remember, in this game, it doesn't really matter if you build only straw, or only wood, or only brick, or one of each, or only wood and brick, and no straw, It does not matter. But if you get a tied game, it would matter if it was a tie game. But we won't get into that. But the point is, it does not matter. But you also want to psych out your opponents, because if you go to a spot that your opponents also choose, then you get less resources. So, And the resources out are 3 brick, 4 wood, and 5 wheat, okay? From the fields, the forest, and the brickyard, okay? So, let's say, for instance, I want to psych out my opponent. I don't want him to think that I'm going to go for brick because brick is best. But I also don't want to go for wheat because, well, I'm going to go with the middleman. So let's go with gather wood. So I choose gather wood, okay? That's what I'm going to do. And then my opponent, he's going to choose one. So let's just say that's what he chooses, okay? So then at the same time, we reveal our gather cards. And look, what just happened? We are both going to the same place. Now, in a two-player game, before we go to our location, Prince Regal here is going to take resources from a location. So let's roll the dice. And the dice that was rolled was wheat. So he's going to go there, and he's going to take half, rounding down. So now he's going to take 2 of the 5... Actually, rounding up, sorry. He's gonna take rounding up. So there's only gonna be 2 wheat left for whoever ended up going there. Ouch. Basically. But now, actually no, rounding down, sorry. It is rounding down. So he's gonna take 3, okay? He's gonna take 2 resources, leaving 3 wheat behind. But no one's going there. We're both going to gather wood. Okay. So then that means that normally, if we were alone in the forest, we would get 4 wood. But since we're both in the forest, we're splitting this in half. So that means each player is only getting 2 wood each. Okay? So now, that is the equation. That's the end of the gather phase. Okay? Now, it is the build phase. Now, during the build phase, there is going to be, and we'll get to what these do. We'll explain how round 2 is going to be like, potentially in round 3 and so on. So we'll explain Fable and Friend cards eventually. But for now, the first round is going to go as follows, basically. Now, so we have 2 actions during the build phase, okay? The first potential action that we can take, because we can take up to 3 different actions, potentially 4 actions if we have a special action with the Fable cards, which we have done currently, so therefore we only have 3 available actions to choose from, but we only get to choose 2, and they can be the same action, okay? We can do the same one twice, but we can't do the special actions twice, okay? So that's just how that works for Fables. You can't do them twice in the same turn. So one thing you could do is you can gather 1 resource of your choice. That's one of the actions you can take. So you can take a wood, or you could take a wheat, or you could take a brick, okay? That's one of the potential actions. Another potential action is building a segment of your house. So the building rules are as follows. So it doesn't matter whether it's straw, wood, or brick. For each foundation, okay, each foundation is going to cost 2 of that resource, okay? So we have wood here, right? So wood is going to cost 2 wood to build the foundation of a house. And it always has to be foundation, then wall, then roof, okay? So that's one action. Now, if we had enough wood to build the next segment, which is the wall, if we had 4 wood, then we could build the wall as well, the wall of the house, right? That's another thing we could do if we had the wood, but we don't, but we could. Now, that's how much it's going to cost. 2 for the foundation, 2 for the walls, and where's the roof? And 6 for the roof. It's going to cost 6 resources of that type to build the roof. For brick, wood, or straw, it's going to cost 6. So 6, 4, and 2. Okay, that's how many resources it's gonna take. Now, here's the thing. Here's some additional rules. So if you're gonna build a house, let's say you start with wood first, and let's say after I built the foundation of the house, I have enough to build another wood foundation. I cannot until this house is done. So I cannot start on another wooden house until the first one is done. But when it's done, I am allowed to have multiples of the same one. So I could have another house made out of wood. If I so chose, I could do that, but I couldn't start this until the first one was done. However, because the other buildings are different, you can be starting on a wood house, but also have a brick house, and also have a straw house started as well, all at the same time. So you can see the point that while you might want to build all 3 brick, it's more efficient to be working on 3 different houses at a time, potentially. Okay? So that's how that's going to work. Now, because you can build so many extra houses here, you're actually allowed to be working on 5 houses. There's room here for 5 houses max. So that means you could be working on, you could have 2 houses done, for instance, and you could be working on, these houses could potentially be done, and you could be working on 2 more at the same time, and that would be 4 here. And you could potentially be working on a 3rd one and still have 2 done, potentially, you know, because maybe, you know, strategically you started out getting a lot of wood, so you might have thought you might have gotten wood finished early, but hey, now we got straw here, and you're starting to get straw, and so you're building straw, so you're not sure which one is going to be done first, but you could potentially be working on multiple houses at the same time, but 5 is the max regardless of the case. 5 will always be the max. So those are some of the building rules, okay? So that's another type of action you can take, is you can build houses. A third action that you can take is you can just draw a fable card. Okay, remember, you can do this twice on the same turn, but you can draw a fable card. Now, fable cards are going to activate during the gather phase, okay? So you don't get to utilize them until the gathering phase. So let's say, for instance, let's just get the wood back for player 2 here. Let's just say player 1 decided, because they're first, the player who's first is going to have this little first player token. So they'll take their 2 actions before anybody else takes their 2 actions. So that's another thing. The player who has the first player token will take their actions before the other players do. So let's just say player 1, he's going to use 2 wood to build a wooden foundation as one of his actions. Okay? And then he's going to also draw this fable card. So that's what he'll do. He'll draw that fable card as well. And then that's it for him. And then player 2, player 2's got, 2 wood here as well. So you know what? They're going to do the same thing. They're going to build a wooden foundation, okay? And they're also going to draw a fable card as well, okay? Okay, so that's all they can do for the build phase, okay? So now we have the cleanup phase. During the cleanup phase, a couple of things happen. First and foremost, the player turn order will be given clockwise to the next player. So that means everyone is going to be first player at some point in the game. Another thing that's going to happen is everyone's going to get their characters back, okay? They're going to come back, okay? And if you're playing a 2-player game, Prince Regal is going to leave the equation as well. And then what you're going to do is you're going to refresh the fields, the forest, and the brickyard with the same equation as you do in setup. So the fields get 5 more wheat. So now there's 8 wheat there. And the forest gets 4 wood. And the brickyard gets 3 brick. So now there's 6 brick, and there is 4 wood, and there is 8 in the fields. So that means the wood is less desirable now because there's 8 wheat and there's 6 brick. So that means one of us is going to be probably going there, and potentially one of us is probably going to go there. But we don't know what the other player is doing, so we could end up going to the same place again. Who knows, right? But yeah, that's kind of the idea. But here's the thing. Prince Regal here still will take something at the beginning of the round, and we don't know what he's going to take because it is up to the dice. But here's the thing. If there's ever more than 10 resources, 10 or more resources at any one of these locations, what Prince Regal will do is he'll go to that location. Instead of rolling the dice, you'll just send Prince Regal to that location, and he will take half of the resources from the resources that have 10 or more on them, or from the location that has 10 or more resources on it. So he'll just do that naturally. Now, if there's a tie, so if there's like 10 wheat and 10 brick, well, brick is more desirable to him. So he'll always go in that equation. So if there's a tie between these two, he's going to go for that. If there's a tie between straw and brick, he's going to go for brick. If there's a tie between wood and straw, he's going to go for wood. That's how that's going to work. Okay, so that's how that's going to happen. And that's basically the cleanup phase. So let's continue on to the next round now. Now that we have some fable cards. Okay? So, the way fable cards work is to activate them, you will choose one. You can only choose one fable card. You'll choose one fable card, okay, to use at the beginning of the round, basically, to go with one of your gather cards. So let's say, you know what, I think I'm going to go for the straw this round, okay? So let's say that's the card I'm going for. But let's say I want to use this fable card too, okay? This is called Harvest Moon, and it says, end of gather phase. Take half of the resources rounded down from a location where no one gathered this turn. So we're gonna pair that with my gather card. And so when we reveal our gather cards, we will reveal our fable cards at the same time, okay? My opponent here, what does he have that I wouldn't know of? He's got the Mysterious Stranger. End of gather phase. If you are alone at a location, you gain a friend card. So this is one of the ways you can gain a friend card, okay? We'll talk about some of the other ways you might gain a friend card. But you might gain a friend card via some fable cards too. So if he's alone. So let's just hope he's alone, right? Now, I don't know what gather card my opponent is going to do, to be honest. Who knows? So let's just say that's the one he's going for, whatever that may be, because I have no clue, okay? And before we reveal our gather and fable cards here, Prince Regal is going to come and take some supplies for himself. And he just rolled straw. So he's taking half of this. So let's get rid of that and put one more there. So now there's only 4 straw. So now I'm going for less straw. Ouch. But I didn't know which one he was going to go for. So, oh well. Okay, so I'll just leave the dice there so we know that he went there and took stuff there. Okay, so now let's reveal our cards. Okay, so we've got... Oh, we're both gathering straw. Can you believe that? Look at that. Okay, well... So once again, we would just get 2 straw each. But let's just say, for the point of argument, because I want to show you how that's going to work. Let's just say my opponent went for brick, and I went for straw, okay? Okay, so he's going to go here, and I'm going to go here, okay? And then we're going to gather our resources that we're supposed to gather. So I get 4 wheat, okay? And my opponent gets 6 brick. Yeah, he gets everything. You get everything if you're alone, for sure. Okay. Put that there. Okay, so yeah, so we got some resources. Now, my Harvest Moon will now activate, so I get to take half of the resources rounded down from a location where no one gathered this turn. Nobody gathered from the forest. Now, before somebody asks, Prince Regal does not count as another soul. Does not count as another person. So if he was here, I would still get to activate the Harvest Moon on the forest because he does not count as somebody gathering from that location. He's a separate entity. He is not affected by these fable cards at all, so you don't have to worry about him messing up your fable cards. But he also isn't affected by monsters. If a monster is in the same location, it does not affect Prince Regal at all, because he's a prince. So why would it affect him? So yeah, but he was here, right? So I get half of this. So we'll split that in half, leave 2 wood behind, and I get 2 wood, thanks to my Harvest Moon. Now, because my opponent had Mysterious Stranger, and he was alone at a location, since he was kind of technically alone, he gets a friend card. So now this is discarded, and this is discarded, and now he's the first player to get a friend card. Now, This says Tom Thumb, gather scraps. At the start of the round, you may take one resource from the location of your choice. So that's cool. So before even Prince Regal affects anything, Tom Thumb, whoever has Tom Thumb here, can basically, you know, take one resource from a location before the start of the round. That's how he's going to work. That's how his friend is going to work. Now, friends can be temporary because you see here, you can only have one friend in the game. Yes, yes, we would love to have more friends, especially in this game. But in this game, you're only allowed to have one friend. And so if you do end up acquiring another friend card, you're allowed to obviously look at it, and then you have to make a decision. You either take it, discarding your old friend, yes, not very thematic, but maybe, since this is the Grimm Forest, or you give this friend card to your opponent. To your opponent, meaning they get the card. That could be good for them if it's a good card. However, that could be also bad for them, because if they have a friend card, they automatically lose their friend card. Even if they absolutely loved their friend card, they must take this friend card if they are given a friend card from an opponent. So you can mess up your opponent by just giving him a friend card. Here, I have a gift for you. You must take this gift. Say goodbye to whatever friend you just had. Ooh, Rumpelstiltskin. Yes, he helped you a big, huge amount, but now he's gone. And now you get the golden goose. So, yeah, you can mess up your opponents even if it's not an attack. You can mess them up. Of course, you can mess them up with a monster, too, because that's an attack. But yeah, so that's how friends are going to work. Now, another way you can get a friend card, besides Fables giving you friend cards, is when you build a wall. Whenever you build a wall of a house, you don't have to build a roof. Just when you build a wall, you're going to get a friend card immediately when you do that. So if a player was able to build their first wall, they're going to get a friend card. If they build another wall of another house on another foundation, that means they're going to get another friend card. And you see the dilemma that at least 3 times in this game, they're going to come to a point where they have to discard their friend for another friend, or give the friend to an opponent, which could be good or bad for them. Either way, because some are better than others. Some friends are just better than others. So that's a possibility that could happen. So that's what's going to happen. And then another potential way that you could get a friend card is if you're the first player to build a certain type of house. Now, if you're the first player that can build a wood house, you're going to get this first builder bonus. And then it's immediately going to give you one of your choice of these 3 bonuses. Either 1 resource of your choice, 2 Fable cards you get to draw, or you can draw a friend card. And you'll know what the rose means, because if you look at a friend card beforehand, you'll notice it has a rose on it indicating friend. And you'll know that 2 feathers, or a feather, means a Fable card. So this Bridge Troll is a Fable card. Oh, and by the way, Bridge Troll, I just love the Bridge Troll. Cool, cool, cool. Cool miniature. There's also, for instance, some wolves that could be a problem. And there's even the big, bad wolf that could come along as well. So there's a lot of going on with this game, but there's not too much going on. But yeah, that's something you could do if you're the first player who builds a wooden house, or a straw house, or a brick house. So that kind of gives you a goal to maybe be the first one to do straw, or the first one to do wood, or the first one to do brick. And if you're playing a 2-player game, then that means one person is going to be the first one to build 2 types of houses, potentially, right? But yeah, that's how that's going to work. So yeah, there's a lot of different Fable cards that could come up that you could activate. Let's see here. The Bridge Troll, for instance, since we saw that earlier, it's a monster. You'll notice if it's a monster, if it's got an eyeball at the corner. You choose 1 player at a location with the Bridge Troll. So when you use this Bridge Troll, you're going to choose a location to put the Bridge Troll at. So you could put it wherever you want, at one of those 3 locations. Obviously, you're going to put it on a spot where your opponent is. But yeah, if you got multiple opponents, then obviously you're going to have some choices. But yeah, you choose one player at a location with the bridge troll, and then they must give you half of the resources that they gathered this turn, half, rounding down. So you're stealing resources if you use the bridge troll to your advantage. But that's one such Fable card you could come across. Then we've got a friendly game. At the end of gather phase, you can take 2 resources of your choice from one opponent at your location. So if you're ended up at a location from an opponent, you can take 2 resources to any resources. So if they have multiple resources that they're hoarding, you could take 2 of any, you know? So lots of different cards for sure. Cutting corners. If you are alone at a location, place this card on your player board where it becomes a new build site, hence potentially a 6 build site, but it becomes a build site nonetheless. And then each house section at this site costs 1 less to build. So you can decrease the cost of one house, of each section of one house by 1. That's cutting corners for you. So there's a lot of different cards. Little helpers here. If you are alone at a location, you can gain 2 extra actions during the building phase, for instance. So instead of just getting 2, you've got 4 for the build phase. That's amazing, right? That happened quite a bit, actually, because we were constantly alone. So little helpers came in, was a big help, but it only works if you're alone at a location, and you don't know you're going to be alone at a location until the end of the gather phase, if you know you're alone or not, right? So it's a gamble, but it's worth it, for sure. But yeah, there's lots of different potential cards that you could get to make the game much more challenging, for sure, and much more enjoyable. And much more fun. So it's not just simply just send a guy here, gather resources, build stuff. There's a lot of other stuff going around on. I think I didn't get the big bad wolf, but I remember reading that if the big bad wolf comes along, he can literally blow your opponent's house down. Ouch. But yes, there's definitely a lot of different cards. I hope this was good enough in it as an explanation of how to play the game. But remember, you just want to be the first one to build 3 houses. Get your houses done. Be the first one. So it's like a race. Be the first one to build 3 houses. And you win the game. Okay? Yes. First one. So, voila. Game over. I win. Or blue player wins anyway. So thank you guys for watching this. I hope this helped you out. And I must say, this is a beautiful production. It's a beautiful game. There's game trays for everything to go into. These are game trays. There's game trays for those miniatures. The miniatures are cool. Even just the pig miniatures are just really cool, right? I mean, they're just really cool. Pig miniatures, for sure. Just amazing production, to be sure. All right, thank you guys for watching this. Bye.